Don't forget to let me know you guys are out there by liking, subscribing, and coming back every week for new content. Hey, what's up everybody? It seems like I just saw you a few minutes ago. Actually, if you watched my Dinner and a Monster episode, I did see you just a few minutes ago. So I said I was going to make another video, kind of to give you a personal idea about me and why sometimes I skip a week between my videos. Now, this is going to be kind of weird, and I may get a lot of backlash for this just because people are very opinionated about the subject, but I'm going to hopefully shed some light and explain some stuff to you. So, the reason that I have, and it also explain why I kind of go off on tangents. And people use this as a joke, and I've kind of used it, I guess, in a sense, as a joke too, but it is actually, real. Anyway, so when I was 13 years old, I think 12, 13, I don't know. I can't remember exactly when. I was having problems in school, because see, I was homeschooled. Okay, let me start over. I went to kindergarten, and I have always shown signs of being very intelligent, but they needed, okay, so at the end of my kindergarten year, the teachers tried to say that they did not feel that I was developed enough mentally to go into first grade. So they wanted me to go into readiness. Okay, readiness is kind of in between kindergarten and first grade. It's like remedial school, remedial grade. And at first my mom believed them, and she was like, oh, okay, that really, I want what's best for my daughter. Well, let me lower this up. What's going on? Here we go. What ended up happening was, it turned out that my mom found out, I don't know if it was through the grapevine or whatever, that in fact it wasn't that I had an issue at all. It was that there was an impartial lottery, because in order to have readiness class, they had to or readiness grade, they had to have a certain amount of students. So they kind of did like a eeny, meeny, miny, mo type thing, and my name got drawn. So as soon as she found that out, she pulled me out of public school, and between first grade and fourth grade, yes, I was homeschooled, and I excelled. Now, I don't believe that everyone who homeschools will excel, and I don't believe everyone who is in public school will excel, and I'll explain all that. But it was one-on-one, and it was videos. I think it was called like a Becca homeschool or something, and I had to watch videos and stuff like that, and I did really well. My mom had to send the paperwork in. She didn't grade my tests. Actually, she had to send them in overnight shipping or whatever, stuff like that, and I did really well. Really well. 5th grade, my stepdad decided that I needed to be more social, that I needed more friends than Danny Bird, because she was like my best friend then, that I should, have a lot more friends. So I got stuck in public school. So from 5th grade until I dropped out, yeah, exactly, until I dropped out of school, I was in public school. I struggled a lot because I did not feel challenged. Now, the reason the readiness thing comes up as something important is because I had a therapist, and it lowered my self-esteem. It made me feel like I was not good enough to be like the other kids. So it almost became a mental block, and I didn't want, I was never good at doing homework, but I would ace tests. But it turns out that realistically, if I had been put into first grade, I probably wouldn't have ended up quitting school. I probably wouldn't have ended up, and I'm not blaming my past for anything. It's just, it's sorry, there's fuzz in my nose. There's the domino effect of, something happens and it causes, a chain reaction. And so, nose, sorry. So in public school, I did well up until high school. Like, I didn't have, when I was in 6th grade, I would make the merit roll. I never made honor roll. It was always A's and B's, A's and B's. Okay, so 7th grade, A's and B's, A's and B's. 8th grade, B's. Right, like, and I was at B's and C's. I was starting to go downhill. And so the summer before my 9th grade year, my mom had heard, I don't know where she heard about it, but she heard about something called ADD, or ADHD. And so at this time, it was very different than how they do it now. It wasn't that the parents go to a doctor and the doctor just goes, oh yeah, your kid is hyper, they have ADD or ADHD, and gives them medication. It was really hard. I had to take 4 hours of testing. They tested my vocabulary. I had to do the ink blot test. I had to do IQ, math, you name it. I had to do like everything. Sensory recognition, stuff like that. It was crazy. So literally, I had a 4-hour doctor appointment, and I have no idea how much my parents ended up having to shell out for that. So I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyper disorder. Now, ADD and ADHD are not the same thing. They have similarities, but they're not the same thing. Okay? Attention deficit disorder does not come with the hyper part. Okay? What the hyper part is you are fidgety, you can't sit still, you make little noises. It can sometimes be mistaken for extremely mild Tourette's just because you are constantly doing something. As you can see with my hands, I've always been that way. I've been a wiggle worm, that's how it's been. So I was prescribed Ritalin, right? Now I don't remember the dose because, again, I was a little kid, or not a little kid, but I was very young. It was a very long time ago. And so I didn't really like the way it made me, it almost turned me into a zombie. I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't very active. I mean, I did my homework. I was able to focus, but aside from that, I was a zombie. I didn't want to do anything. I just didn't care. Well, I've always kind of not cared about things. I've always been a pretty apathetic person, but I was just, I don't want to go outside. I didn't want to go with my friends. I just wanted to do nothing, except for what I had to do, like homework and everything. So my mom talked to the doctor, and he said, well, wean her off of it slowly. Well, that didn't happen. Mom basically just didn't get another prescription, and I had a Ritalin crash. So for about a week, I was extremely angry, which anger can be a side effect of having ADHD. Now, again, I don't have ADD, so I don't know all the details on that particular one, but I do know that ADHD can come with anger issues. Hair trigger temper, violent outbursts, and that actually was made it worse when Mom just cold turkey cut me off of Ritalin. But it was only for about a week, I'd say, maybe 2. So I started caffeine. Like, I started just drinking caffeine all the time, and it would make me sleepy. Caffeine, I could drink coffee and go right to bed, stuff like that. Alright, so like I said I had to write myself notes. That's another thing that I have to do, is I have to write notes. I have to write a lot of things down. I have notepads and pieces of paper with stuff. It's like memento, except for it's not on my skin. I have stuff written down because it can also affect your short-term memory, which I had an incident when I was a kid that also affects my short-term memory, but we don't need to get into that right now. And I get derailed really easily. So, yeah, notes, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I only pretty much know what happens with ADHD over ADD because, sorry, there's a hair I can see. Alright, so, people think that there are certain causes for ADD and ADHD, and there are myths and there's truth. 2 of the biggest ones, well, there's 3 total. One of them is correct, and the other 2 is not correct. One of the big ones is head trauma. Head trauma can give you things that are similar to ADHD or ADD, but it's not the same. Because you can see someone who, you can take 2 people, someone that's had a head injury and someone that has ADHD, and even though they will have similar personality defects or behavioral defects, the brain scans are different. Because ADD and ADHD kind of has, I mean, there's like, I don't know, 5 different kinds of those, and you can have more than one, but there's, yeah, the brain scans are different. Another one's a brain infection. I guess the brain infection is like encephalitis or whatever, your brain swells and stuff, and that one is Both of those are myth. It doesn't happen through head injury, and it doesn't happen through brain infection. The only way that you can get or have ADHD is through genetics. And I've heard it's carried on your mother's side. I've heard it's carried on your father's side. You know, I was always taught it's carried from the father. So and it would make sense if you knew stories about my biological dad. He had a lot of the same symptoms that I do. But that's the only way that you can have it, is you're born with it. It doesn't just happen one day. You know, it doesn't just, I crack my head and now I have it. No. However, you never really grow out of it. If you have it as a child, what will happen is because when you're a child, you're still developing. So what can happen is basically you grow out of it in the sense of you are becoming an adult. So your brain is working through the problems that you had as a child, controlling it. So you have more control over it. But that doesn't go for everyone. For me, as an example, that doesn't go for me. I still have a lot of issues. Again, fidgety. I will have a lot of anger. I've always been a fast talker, but I talk a lot faster when I'm not medicated. I make noises. I think I said fidgety, extremely fidgety. I don't listen. I don't pay attention. I don't mean to. And that's the thing I have to explain to people is I'm not deliberately ignoring you. I can't pay attention. Unless I really like something. I've always found that Legos, and this is true for people with autism as well, Legos is a great outlet for people with ADD and ADHD and autism and Asperger's, because it's instant gratification. And that's one frustrating thing about having ADHD, is you want instant gratification. It's not deliberate. It's not on purpose. You just crave it. You want, like, I cosplay, for example, and I find myself getting so frustrated because the thing that I'm trying to put together is not coming together as quickly as I want, or it's not coming together the way I want. And I get extremely frustrated. And I have a lot of costumes I never finished. I have a lot of costumes I never started because I bought the pattern and looked at pattern and I just threw it out, or not threw it out, but I just filed it away because I can't do it. When you have ADHD, your brain does not see this, it sees this. You see everything. Someone once asked me what it's like to have ADHD. This is the best way that I can explain to you my personal experience with ADHD. If you can imagine a wall of televisions, okay? None of them on the same channel. They're all on different channels. I know back in the 80s you could see they would have it like it's ye old Circuit City and stuff, where they'd have the wall of televisions. But they're all in different channels, and those channels are constantly changing. Nothing, and none of the TVs stop on the same channel. Oh, this hair. It drives you crazy, and that's sort of how my brain works, or that's how it feels my brain works. And like I said, that's why when I'm doing my movie reviews, sometimes I go off on tangents or I derail. It's because my brain has changed the channel. And it'll come back around to that channel, because I think I only have like 30 channels up there. So, you know, it'll come back around. But that's why I can't stay focused on things, or something, again, my brain changes channels, so I'll be talking about something and one word or one phrase or one sentence or one feeling will bring up something else and remind me, and then I'm like, oh, well, let's go off on here and let me explain this, even though it may feel like I'm just trailing off. That's like I am now. I'm rambling too. But that's sort of what it feels like. Also, I have like my knees are bad because I played sports when I was a kid, and I was climbed trees, and I was always getting hurt. I always joke and say that me and my friend Aaliyah were like Jackass before Jackass. Like, we did a lot of dangerous things that our parents still don't know about when we were teenagers and stuff, and so it ruined some of my joints. But that's the problem is I have a hyperactive person inside of me, but a body that can't do it. And that's frustrating. And I'm not about to cry. My throat's just going to dry. So there's so many things that I want to do, but I can't physically do, and so I get really annoyed. I also can't handle when people cry. I don't know what to do. And I know that sounds really crazy, but I don't. I get angry when people cry. Because I want to make it better, but A, I know I can't make it better, and B, I don't know how to even try to make it better, so I get angry. My mother, I love her to death. She's an emotional roller coaster. She will cry at the drop of a hat. That's just how she is. She's suffered from depression for a long time, and she will go off and just cry. And I don't know what to do except for say stop crying. Crying's not going to fix it, because again, I don't know what to do when people cry. It has almost desensitized me from empathy. I'm a very apathetic person. I can cry. I do cry. I feel compassion, but I have a hard time with empathy. And I was told that can be a side effect of ADHD is you just have that disconnect from people. And I do. I really do. Okay, now let's go to the next part. Okay, so here's some things. Alright, whoop, hold on, I think I'm about to be invaded. Sorry about that. My 3-year-old niece came in to tell me that her big sister keeps taking Chica from her. Alright, so anyway, as I was saying, because see, I've got these little nifty cards so I can remember what I'm going to tell you because of things like that. So my personal symptoms, again, there are cookie cutter symptoms of ADD and ADHD. There are, like having problems with attention and stuff like that. But I've never really been around a lot of other people with it. I've been around people that say they have it, but again, it's like you kind of know if someone actually has it because you have it, so you see the symptoms. But a lot of people that say they have it, they don't actually. They're either doing, saying it as a joke, or they're saying it as an excuse, or they're self-diagnosing themselves. But anyway, so my personal symptoms are, one thing is I have tics. That's more common in people with ADHD than ADD, because we're fidgety. But I will find that I will do this sometimes with my hands. I will make faces for some reason when they're not really needed, like I'm just standing there. I'm a very big knuckle cracker, but that's not a tic. But yeah, mostly my hands. I will make fists, or I have a fidget cube to try to help me with that. And I know part of it is like I said, it's just the fidgetiness of it, but it does look almost like Tourette's sometimes. And so that's fun in public. I'm OCD. My room is a mess right now, but I can still find everything. But my movies are in alphabetical order. I play Dungeons & Dragons, so I put my dice in a certain order. I color coordinate my t-shirts, and kind of put them by genre too, like band shirts, comic book shirts, stuff like that. And grammar. Now, I am not claiming that I am the end-all when it comes to spelling and grammar, but there are certain things that really bother me and eat at me when I see it on Facebook, or like there, or where, things like that. And so I will unintentionally, I say unintentionally, I will correct people and strangers, and I'm not doing it to be a butt. I'm doing it because it's a tic. It's just, I have to. I have the impulse. Which is another thing is, I'm impulsive. I have to reel it back a lot of times because there's things that I want to do that I know are not socially correct, or it's not good social etiquette. So I will say it instead. I'm tempted to whatever. I don't do it because I know it's wrong or that I shouldn't do it, but sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble and I do say things that I shouldn't say. And I almost immediately apologize unless I don't like them, or I'm just picking on them. But when someone opens the door, and I mean like figuratively opens the door and makes a comment, sometimes I just blurt out the first thing that comes out. And it's funny, it's clever, But it's not always appropriate. I tend to not have much of a filter. I do have a temper, and it can either be, it's weird. My temper is unpredictable. I can either, go on and be very patient with something, and then the next day that exact same something just sets me off. I have a low tolerance for stupidity, and I have to grind my teeth sometimes. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I work in the retail industry, and when I have to repeat myself 4 times, I don't know what to do at that point. And so, yes, some snarky remark is probably going to come out because you are driving me crazy, because I've explained it to you in baby talk, how to do this or where this is, and you are still not getting it, and that drives me nuts. Alright, another one. Oh, inattentive. Yes, I have a horrible attention span. Examples. I bought Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't even know if I'm 30% into the game, but I got bored. I couldn't even tell you where I got to, where I made it, because I am just bored with the game. Same thing with Resident Evil. The new Resident Evil, I got stuck. And so I tend to quit the games. There are very few games I finished. I finished Deadpool. I finished Lollipop Chainsaw. I mean, there are some video games, and when I was younger I finished Legend of Zelda, and I'm not really big into RPGs, so Kingdom Hearts 3 is really hard for me to get through. I like the Lego games, because again, they're segmented, they're scenes, and they're short scenes, and you can get through and you can get it done, so there's an instant gratification. But with like the Resident Evil 2 game, which I spent, I don't know, however much on, and the Kingdom Hearts 3 game, it's like, come on, okay, what's next? I get very, like I said, I get very, like, bored with it. There's another one. I'm like a hummingbird. I have a lot of things that I haven't finished, because I go from here to here to here to here to here to here, and I'm always running around, and I have a lot of what I call half-dones. I just haven't finished them. Now, when I'm on my medication, it's different, but when I usually do my videos, a lot of times it's after my medication is worn off. Like right now, I'm on the kind of tail end of it, but it's not too bad. But you can definitely tell a difference from when my medication is in full force and when it's gone. It's almost a personality change. I'm more impatient, I'm more hyper, you can definitely tell. I'm very disorganized for someone with OCD. But again, that is an actual symptom of OCD. A lot of people think OCD, people are just, everything is, has to be a certain way, but that's not necessarily so. OCD can also mean, yes, I'm disorganized, yes, my room is a mess, but if anyone else comes in there and cleans it up, I have a mental breakdown, because they don't do it right. They don't put stuff where I want it to go. They don't, fold the towels the way I want them folded. They don't hang the shirts up the way I want them hung up. That kind of thing. So yeah, I'm disorganized. Again, my room is a wreck right now. I really want to get around to cleaning it up. I've been doing so much other stuff. And another symptom is depression, which this is why sometimes my videos will skip a week or skip a few days, because I was trying to do them once a week, but like I skipped a week, is I will get these bouts of depression for no reason whatsoever. I'm just depressed, and that really sucks, because I don't know why I'm depressed, and that makes you more depressed because you don't know why. And right now, like, I'm trying to lose weight, because that makes me unhappy. One thing I will tell you about ADHD is you will focus on things that are little things that would normally bother people, but it will bother you. Being called a name, I try to brush this stuff off, because I was bullied a lot in high school, and I try to brush this off, but it doesn't always work, and I get really depressed really easily, and it's even worse, because then I get angry at myself for being depressed, because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, and the depression makes me really tired, and I don't want to do anything, and so there's that. But there's a perk to having it. I guess you'd say it's a perk. When you have ADHD, you can't help what you remember. Like, I can want to remember something, which is why I have to write notes, and I will forget it if I don't write notes. But yet, I will hear something on the background on the TV, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. Um, I used to have actually a couple of coworkers at my job that used to compare me to Sheldon Cooper because I have certain spots. Again, it's OCD. I have certain places I like to sit in the movie theater. I have certain chairs that I will sit in the break room. I have certain spots that I'll stand. I know. When I'm in a hotel room, I like to sleep on the left side of the bed if I can help it. But if I am in a hotel room, I have to sleep on the bed that's the furthest from the window, but I have to sleep closest to the end table. So I can't sleep in that second bed that's close to the window. I don't know why. And I can't sleep on the left if the left is not next to the end table. And I've always been like that ever since I was a little kid. I don't know why. Here's another one. This is a really annoying one. I have sensory issues. There's certain things I can't touch without it grossing me out. And some people do take this personally because I can't touch people. How do you like that? I can touch people, but I can't. I have friends that I've never hugged in my life, and we've known each other like 20 years. But I know people that I've only been friends with for a couple of years that I don't mind hugging. It's odd, and I don't quite know what the comfort zone is in that. I also can't touch hands. I can with my nieces, and if I'm in a relationship with someone, but generally I don't like touching people's hands. I don't like touching people's faces. Hair can sometimes weird me out. Microfiber towels, but I think that's pretty common. Flat paint. I hate the feeling of dry hands. And these things will make me like sick. Like I want to throw up. There was an incident where I was part of a group that did like shadow casts and stuff, and we did one where we would do a little opening act, and we were doing Sweeney Todd, and I was playing Sweeney Todd, and another girl was playing Mrs. Lovett, and we were going to do a little bit of priest song, and I had the hardest time touching her hands for the waltz, and it was weird because I didn't want her to take that as a personal thing, because it really wasn't. I could not do it. I could not touch her. And so I told her, you're just going to have to grab my hands, because I have to get used to it. And so that's how we did it, but that's how I've always been. Little kids are different, though. I don't mind touching little kids' hands, because I guess they're just little kids, so it's, they don't really understand. But I also have a friend who likes to hug me a lot, and I don't like hugs, but he does it anyway. And I always say, the way I've looked at it, he's the Tigger to my rabbit, because he just invades my personal space, and I have a very big personal space. But yeah, my friend Jeff, you saw him in one of the past episodes. If we ever like walking and our knuckles brush, you'll see us both kind of rub our hands on our pants, because the feeling after someone shakes my hand or that happens is there's a residual feeling, and it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, there's foods that I won't eat simply because of the textures. I'm sure they taste wonderful, but I can't get over the texture. A good example is cream of wheat. I can't eat cream of wheat. No. It tastes like sand, or it feels like sand. I can't eat that. Certain smells I don't like. I'm very sensitive to sounds, stuff like that. So there's a lot of things, and this is going to be a really long video. There's a lot of things that I don't like the feel of, or the taste of, or whatever, that I'm just like, no, that's okay, thank you. But I've tried lots and lots of medications. I've been through Adderall, Adderall XR, Ritalin, I think I was in Concerta, Folklin, and there was another one that it actually lowered my blood pressure, and I almost passed out, because I have really low blood pressure to begin with, and this made it worse. So finally, after 2 years, a year, something of that, fighting with my insurance, I finally got back on the medication that works, which is Vyvanse. And I'm not saying that's going to work for anyone or everyone, but 40 milligrams of Vyvanse definitely helps, because my body does tend to metabolize the medicine too fast. I can get a good 8 hours out of Vyvanse. And I can, there's side effects that I don't mind, stuff like that, but that was the one that worked for me. But anyway, so I don't know if this has been informational or not, but I just really wanted to let you guys know. This is my personal experience with having ADHD, and this is also why, I have issues with making videos once a week. I mean, I'll go and go and go, and then I sort of mentally and emotionally crash. And so I'll go a week without making a video at all, and then I always feel bad because I'm always like, oh, I really need to make this video, and I just never get around to it. So if you want more videos about, like, my life and just stuff like that, then, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. I am going to try to do more stuff because I noticed that people like the personal stuff more. And there's going to be a video coming up in May that is very personal, and I may have to do kind of like a disclaimer because of the content of it. There's not going to be bad language, but there may be some stuff that may hit home with some people, and I don't want anybody having like any kind of nervous breakdown over it. So, and that's coming up at the beginning of May, and makeup powder, sorry, just noticed that. Anyway, I've been doing this whole thing with makeup powder on my shirt, and right here. But anyway, so yeah, so I hope you guys have a great day, and like I said, like, subscribe, and follow me, and all that fun stuff, and I'm going to put my Patreon in the description of this one too. I've had it for about a month now, and nobody even donated $1, but that's okay. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So you guys, I'll catch you later in the next video. See ya.